Good morning, everyone, and glad to see you all here today. And special welcome to any who are joining us for the first time. We've been discussing the Lotus Sutra, the Dharma Flower Sutra, which is kind of an odd piece of literature. It occurred to me that each of these chapters could almost be viewed as a dream. It has a dreamlike quality where there's a mysterious coherence sometimes, and also the occurrence of events that are outside our usual experience. And the chapter we'll be talking about today is no exception to that. There are actually two themes in this chapter. The title of the chapter is, according to Jean Reeves' translation, Encouragement to Uphold the Sutra. Encouragement to uphold the Sutra. He uses the word encouragement. The character, the Chinese character, is also translated in other ways as perseverance or fortitude or endurance. And those alternative translations will become more obvious as we get on. So the two themes in this chapter, which might appear to be disconnected in a way, one is that of prediction of an evil age, of an age of degeneration, in which those who espouse the Lotus Sutra are persecuted. And the other theme is that of assurance of the nuns, particularly two nuns, that they will achieve Buddhahood sometime in the future. It's a continuation of a theme in which virtually all of the beings who are in accompaniment of the Buddha at the time of this teaching are receiving assurance that they will become Buddhas themselves eventually. So the chapter starts off along these lines. We beg you, world-honored one, do not worry. The speaker here is Medicine King, one of the bodhisattvas who is speaking for the whole group of bodhisattvas or followers of the Buddha. We beg you, world-honored one, do not worry. After the extinction of the Buddha, we will honor and embrace, read and recite and teach this sutra. In the evil age to come, living beings will have fewer and fewer good roots, while their utter arrogance will increase. Their desire for profitable offerings will grow, increasing their roots that are not good, taking them further from liberation. Though it may be difficult to teach and transform them, we will have the strength of great patience and will read and recite this sutra, embrace, teach, and copy it, and make all kinds of offerings to it without sparing our bodies and lives. So notice that, again, we're halfway through the Lotus Sutra, and we're still speaking about it more or less in the third person. We have yet to actually hear or read any content of the Lotus Sutra, which seems mysterious. It's as if there's a 3-act play and we're halfway through the second act, and the whole play is about one character, and that character has not yet appeared on the stage. But that's the way the chapter begins, and then it moves on to the second theme. Then the sister of the Buddha's mother, the nun Mahaprajapati. Mahaprajapati was the Buddha's aunt and stepmother, because his biological mother died shortly after childhood. So Mahaprajapati served the role of the Buddha's mother. The sister of the Buddha's mother, the nun Mahaprajapati, with 6,000 nuns in training and trained, rose from their seats and, putting their palms together in complete attention, gazed up at the face of the honored one without taking their eyes away for even a moment. The world honored one then said to Gautami, his stepmother, "Why do you gaze at the Tathagata in such a troubled way? Are you wondering why I have not mentioned your name to assure you of supreme awakening, Gautami? I have already announced that all Shravakas generally are assured. Now, if you want to have your assurance, I will tell you that in future lives, in the midst of the teachings of 68,000 millions of Buddhas, you will become a great Dharma teacher. And these 6,000 nuns in training and trained will all become Dharma teachers. Thus, you will gradually fulfill the bodhisattva way and become a Buddha named Seen with Joy by all the living Tathagata, one worthy of offerings, truly awakened, fully clear in conduct, well gone, understanding the world, unexcelled leader, trainer of men, teacher of heavenly beings and people, Buddha, world-honored one, Gautami, this seen with joy by all the living Buddhas, will in turn assure 6,000 bodhisattvas of supreme awakening." Then the mother of Rahula, the mother of Rahula, Yashodhara, thought, in his assurance, the world-honored one has left only my name unmentioned. We'll get to that in just a moment. But the Mahaprajapati, it's interesting that all of the prior beings who have been assured of Buddhahood by the Buddha in this sutra have made a request, have made a verbal request. But Mahaprajapati was silent and just stared at the Buddha. And I can just imagine that look. It's a look that most mothers are skilled at, of, haven't you forgotten something? You should be ashamed of yourself. I can just imagine the look. And the Buddha obviously picked up on the signal. But then the mother of Rahula, so this would be the Buddha's wife before he left home, Rahula being his son. The nun, Yashodhara, thought, in his assurance, the world-honored one has left only my name unmentioned. So this would seem like a kind of a rookie husband mistake, assuring all the women there that they would achieve Buddhahood without actually mentioning his wife. But the Buddha takes care of this. Then the nuns, Mahaprajapati and Yashodhara, together with all their following, were full of joy, having gained something they had never had before. So Mahaprajapati and Yashodhara were assured of Buddhahood along with all of their followers. In the presence of the Buddha, they immediately spoke in verse. World-honored leader and teacher, comforter of human and heavenly beings, hearing your assurance was just what we needed. We are at peace. After reciting the verse, the nuns said to the Buddha, world-honored one, we too are able to proclaim this sutra everywhere throughout the lands in other regions. So at this point, then, all of the beings, both human and non-human, who are in attendance with the Buddha at this event, have been assured of eventual Buddhahood, which speaks along the theme of the Lotus Sutra of universal salvation, universal awakening. But it may take time. But then we shift into the other theme, the theme about a evil age or a degenerate time. And this notion of a degenerate age is an early part of Mahayana Buddhist literature. And it's not clear, at least I'm unable to find the original source of the notion, but there is the notion of 3 ages: the age of the true Dharma, the age of semblance Dharma, and the age of degenerate Dharma. And these were thought to be, at the time, about 500 to 1,000 years each. And initially, after the life of the Buddha, there would be the true Dharma, in which it would be relatively easy to arrive at awakening or to realize awakening. And then the age of semblance Dharma, which everything sort of took on a surface appearance, and the deeper meaning of the Dharma became obscured. And then there's the age of degenerate Dharma, in which the teachings just become lost over time. This is of particular relevance in the Soto Zen tradition because Dogen, one of the founders of the Soto Zen tradition in Japan, who lived in the early 1200s CE, along with virtually everyone else apparently at the time, perceived themselves to be in the degenerate age. Japanese word being mappo. They perceived that theirs was the degenerate age in which it was difficult to realize, very difficult to realize awakening. And many, this is not just confined, this notion of a degenerate age is not just confined to China and Japan. I think it's my understanding that the ancient Greek philosophers also viewed their age as degenerate, that things were deteriorating. And we, in fact, may have a similar view about the time we live. The next section gets into talking about how the bodhisattvas, how the followers of the Buddha will respond to the degenerate age. Then the bodhisattvas all raised their voices together and spoke in verse. Please do not worry. After the Buddha's extinction, after his death, in a frightful and evil age, we will teach everywhere. Though many ignorant people will curse and abuse us or attack us with swords and sticks, we will endure all. In that evil age, there will be monks with twisted minds and fawning crooked hearts, boasting and full of pride, claiming to have attained what they have not. There will be forest dwellers wearing patched robes and living in seclusion, pretending that they practice the true way while disrespecting and putting other people down, while disrespecting and putting other people down. So it's unclear why the authors of the Lotus Sutra were writing in this manner, talking about such things. It's possible that the views of those who were followers of the Lotus Sutra at the time of its composition were experiencing some disrespect, some disparagement. Because the notion of universal salvation and the notion of women on the path to Buddhahood was foreign to the early Buddhist tradition, and it was foreign to Indian culture at the time. Women were not perceived to be candidates for spiritual development. This was the confines of men, by and large, in the culture. So it's possible that some of the notions in the Lotus Sutra aroused resistance from other Buddhist followers at the time. And in fact, there were times of Buddhist persecution in Japan, or in Japan, but also in China, between about 400 CE and 1000 CE. There were several episodes of Buddhist persecution when many shrines and temples, monasteries were burned. So the theme continues, in an evil age of a muddied eon, full of dreadful things, evil spirits will take possession of others, to curse, abuse, and insult us. But revering and trusting in the Buddha, we will wear an armor of patient endurance. We will wear an armor of patient endurance. In order to teach the sutra, we will endure all such difficult things. We will cherish neither our bodies nor our lives, but care only for the unexcelled way. In ages to come, we will protect and uphold what the Buddha has entrusted to us, referring to the teachings in general and in particular to the Lotus Sutra. I think it is sometimes overlooked how radical the teachings of the Buddha were, and in particular how radical the teachings of this Lotus Sutra are. The notion of universal salvation has implications. It means that at any time during this human life, that awakening is possible for anyone. It dispels the notion of good guys and bad guys, as seen in the previous chapter in discussing Devadatta. And it is not in accord with the usual practices of worldly institutions, of nation states. The Buddha, in one of his very earliest recorded sayings, said, "Hate has never dispelled hate, only love dispels hate. This is the law, ancient and inexhaustible." Which is not compatible with many common worldly practices. It's not compatible with revenge, retribution, punishment for punishment's sake. It is not really compatible with the use of mass killing as a political tool. So the Buddhist teachings are really quite countercultural. They can redefine the meanings of courage and of manliness. So these teachings are radical in that sense and not always welcomed in worldly affairs. So in this chapter, these bodhisattvas are committed to proclaiming the Lotus Sutra. We, again, still don't know exactly what that means. But I think the Buddha gives us a clue. In an earlier chapter, a section we talked about says, if any living beings, having encountered Buddhas in the past and having heard the Dharma, have been generous, moral, patient, and persistent, practiced meditation and wisdom and so on, in various ways cultivating merit and virtue. All such people have fulfilled the Buddha way. When Buddhas have passed away, if anyone is good and gentle, all such living beings have fulfilled the Buddha way. So I don't think at this time and in this place, proclaiming the Lotus Sutra means taking a megaphone out to the intersection of Skinker and Delmar and reading chapters from the Lotus Sutra. It has a different meaning. And I guess I would close with that thought and also query what you think is meant by teaching the Dharma. How do we do that? We'll stop there and go into some breakout rooms and discuss this section or any other things that come up. Oftentimes, interesting things come up that are only tangentially related. And then we'll reconvene in a few moments to discuss as a whole group. Thank you for being here today, sharing your presence.